I'm Colin from You Learn to Share. This is my first video, so I'll introduce my subject shortly before going on to our main lecture. Gen Chem is a subject you get to learn in your first year of college, and since this field is widely spread over many topics, its contents vary a lot, textbook by textbook. Among these contents, I'll be teaching you about the contents of the book, Chemistry, Principles and Reactions 8th edition. It contains the basics for studying chemistry in college. This textbook is one of the Gen Chem textbooks that suits beginners the best, so my lectures will be helpful if you're planning to study chemistry in college. Now, let's go on to our main lecture. Today, I'll be teaching you about matter and measurements. Matter is anything that has mass and occupies space, and it can be classified in two major methods. The first method is classifying with respect to physical phases, in which we classify matter into three categories: solid, liquid, and gas. But in this chapter, we'll take some more focus onto the other method. We can classify matter with respect to its composition, pure substances, and mixture. To be obvious, pure substances have their own fixed composition and unique set of properties. Mixtures are composed from two or more of these substances. Elements are pure substances which cannot be broken down into two or more of them. So we can say that elements consist of a single type of atom. As we all know, elements are identified by their own symbol. Another type of pure substances are compounds, which consist of two or more elements, but with fixed mass percentage. They can be decomposed into elements through several procedures such as electrolysis. On the other hand, mixtures consist of homogeneous and heterogeneous mixtures. Homogeneous mixtures are mixtures that have the same composition throughout. They are also called solutions, in which substance with the largest amount is the solvent, and others are solutes. Unlike compounds, their components do not have a fixed mass ratio. The last category, heterogeneous mixtures, are mixtures which have varying composition. As compounds can be decomposed into elements, mixtures can be separated into substances through procedures such as filtration, distillation, and chromatography. To help you understand, I'll give you several examples of each category. As you see in this table, hydrogen and oxygen are elements. Sodium chloride or water are compounds. Air or the aquatic solution of sodium chloride are homogeneous mixtures. And milk or mud water are heterogeneous mixtures. This chapter also deals with measurements. Since chemistry is quantitative science, measured quantities are always involved in experiments and calculations. These scientific measurements are expressed in the metric system, and you can see each metric prefix in this table. The metric prefixes are used with the SI units to indicate the measured amount of a quantity. In the case of temperature, there are three major units: Fahrenheit, Celsius, and Kelvin scales. We can relate these scales by using these equations. The next thing we're going to talk about is significant figures, uncertainties in measurements. Significant figures are probably the ones that will annoy you the most while you're studying chemistry. Let's begin with the method of counting significant figures. First, we have to delete all the zeros on the left of the first non-zero number, since they are not significant. After that, you have to count all the leftover numbers, even the zeros, since the zeros on the right are significant. Now, what happens to significant figures when we modify quantities with arithmetic operations? In the case of multiplication and division, the number of significant figures in the result is the same as that in the quantity with the smallest number of significant figures. In the case of addition and subtraction, the number of decimal places in the result is same as the smallest number of decimal places. After writing the result following this principle, we can count the number of significant figures using the method we previously talked about. To show significant figures efficiently, scientists often use scientific notations and write the quantities using exponentials of 10. There are certain numbers that have no limit of significant figures. They are exact numbers. In problems, exact numbers are shown by expressing numerical values in alphabetical letters. Also, we consider conversion factors as exact numbers. Let's go on to our last part, properties of substances. Every pure substance has two major types of properties, intensive properties and extensive properties. Intensive properties of substances are independent of amount, and extensive properties depend on amount. We are going to focus on intensive properties since they can be used to identify a substance, while extensive properties can't. Physical or thermal and mechanical properties are intrinsic qualities, and they include the density, melting point, boiling point, conductivity, color, viscosity, and hardness of a substance. Let's take a closer look on density. The density of a substance is the ratio of mass to volume. What makes this property special is that mass and volume are both extensive properties, but density is an intensive property. Next, let's look at solubility, the maximum amount of substance dissolved per 100 grams of water. Solubility is also considered as a physical property, since dissolving a substance is a physical change rather than a chemical reaction. When the amount of solvent dissolved in 100 grams of water is exactly the same as its solubility, the solution is said to be saturated. When the amount is less than the solubility, the solution is unsaturated. When the amount exceeds the solubility, the solution is supersaturated. Chemical properties show the behavior of species in a reaction, and they include acidity, alkalinity, oxidative properties, and etc. This is the end of today's lecture. Today's lesson may have been easy, but advanced contents are awaiting you in the rest of the curriculum. Make sure you subscribe this channel, leave a like, and turn on the notifications